Okay, let's jump right in. Over the past, 36 hours or so, tensions in the Pacific have really been spiking dramatically.
They certainly have.
We're talking about a truly urgent situation here. It seems largely fueled by China's increasingly bold moves, especially around Taiwan and its neighbors. Now, you've probably seen a few headlines flying around, but our mission today is, well, to cut through some of that noise.
Get to the core of it.
Exactly. We're pulling directly from the Stylo News Strategic Watch List. That's our internal real-time intelligence brief focused specifically on China-Taiwan tensions.
Right.
Our goal, to really unpack the critical developments, the swift reactions we're seeing regionally and internationally, and, the complex strategic implications.
So you get that comprehensive understanding.
Without the overload, just the key insights.
And it's important to note, this isn't just the usual rhetoric we sometimes see. Beijing's recent move, it's quite specific.
How so?
They've condemned internal political processes in Taiwan, things like these citizen-initiated recall attempts for elected officials.
Okay, targeting internal politics. That feels different.
It is. It's not just rhetoric. It feels like a calculated shift, almost aiming to delegitimize Taiwan's democratic institutions from the inside out. It reveals maybe a new kind of pressure tactic, more insidious perhaps than just the military posturing we often focus on.
While still hammering home the message about independence.
Oh, absolutely. All while they firmly reiterate their opposition to any form of Taiwan independence. So yeah, it immediately raises the stakes.
That is a fascinating and frankly concerning distinction, targeting internal democratic process. So, okay, with this new, maybe sharper posture from China, what's been the immediate fallout?
Well, the reactions have been pretty swift and multilateral. Paints a clear picture of concern, really.
Who's reacted first?
The United States, as you'd expect. They're Taiwan's principal security partner. They quickly reaffirmed their steadfast support.
For Taiwan's democracy? Defense?
Both. Democratic institutions and defense capabilities.
And
crucially, this included increasing naval deployments, specifically to reassure key regional allies. Think the Philippines, for example.
Right, because they're feeling that direct pressure in the South China Sea.
Exactly. They're very much on the front line there. But beyond the U.S.
Others in the region.
Yes. Japan, South Korea, and ASEAN members, the Association of Southeast Asian Nations, they're all closely monitoring.
Just watching. Or saying something.
No, not just watching. They're expressing significant concerns about the risk of escalation, the impact on regional stability,
So it's not just individual nations making noise then. We're also seeing, major international bodies stepping into this fray.
Absolutely. Organizations like the United Nations, the European Union, they've both called for restraint, for dialogue.
The standard diplomatic calls.
Pretty much, emphasizing peaceful dispute resolution. But it's interesting, it's not just governments and these big official bodies.
Oh.
Social media sentiment across East Asia, it actually reflects widespread anxiety and polarization.
So you get a real-time pulse from that.
You really do. You see pro-democracy voices supporting Taiwan's resilience, pushing back, and then pro-China users amplifying Beijing's narrative.
Wow. Shows how deeply this resonates with people on the ground.
Definitely. It's not just abstract geopolitics for them.
Okay, we've got the immediate reactions mapped out, but let's dig into the details a bit more.
Okay.
What exactly are these key players doing on the ground? It feels like a high-stakes chess game, like you said. Every move has a counter move or at least a ripple effect. Let's start with China's actions. What have they specifically done?
Well, China's actions have been quite direct, deliberate. They've explicitly condemned those Taiwanese recall attempts we mentioned.
Calling them political manipulation.
Exactly, political manipulation. They've reiterated their staunch opposition to Taiwan independence and publicly criticized Taiwan's recent elections as provocative.
And how are they delivering this message?
Through official statements, of course, and amplified heavily by state media. It's a very clear, unambiguous message they're sending.
And how has Taiwan responded? Under that immense pressure, what are their countermoves?
Taiwan, well, for its part, it's continued its democratic processes despite that intense pressure from Beijing.
Just carrying on.
Pretty much. But here's something less obvious, maybe, but potentially just as critical.
What's that?
They've also been debating their energy policy.
Energy policy. How does that fit in? Seems like a domestic issue.
It might seem like it, but think about it. It's a move with potential impacts not just on regional energy markets.
But globally.
Yes, potentially on global technology supply chains. Remember, Taiwan's absolutely critical role in tech manufacturing, especially semiconductors.
Ah, right. So a domestic policy decision suddenly becomes a global economic and strategic factor.
Precisely. It demonstrates Taiwan's resilience, maybe, but also their strategic awareness. They know these connections exist.
That's a crucial insight. How that seemingly localized energy debate can send ripples through global tech. Makes you wonder, are we seeing more of this now? Domestic issues becoming strategic flashpoints.
I think we are. The interconnectedness is just undeniable.
And what about the Philippines? You mentioned the increased U.S. presence there.
Yes, exactly. The Philippines has indeed received that increased U.S. naval presence and reassurances about freedom of navigation.
So that's a direct response to China in the South China Sea.
It's a very direct, observable response to China's continued assertiveness there. It shows a clear alignment of interests, bolstering those regional security partnerships.
And in Japan and South Korea, what specific actions are they taking beyond just monitoring?
Japan has explicitly expressed deep concerns about regional stability, even the risk of war stemming from these China-Taiwan tensions, and they're watching very closely.
And South Korea.
South Korea's voiced similar apprehension, regional security, potential for conflict, and significantly, they've been actively participating in trilateral discussions.
With the U.S. and Japan.
That's right, with the U.S. and Japan. It signals a more coordinated approach, moving beyond just individual statements towards, well, collaborative action on shared security concerns.
So the regional response is clearly quite nuanced, a mix of direct actions, indirect actions, collaboration.
Mm-hmm.
But how is this playing out on the bigger global stage? Are international powers mirroring these immediate regional concerns, or are they bringing a different set of priorities, perhaps?
It's interesting. The international actions reveal a truly multi-layered approach. It goes beyond just the immediate region.
Like the U.S. actions you mentioned.
Yes. Take the United States. They haven't just reaffirmed support for Taiwan's democracy and defense. They've also advised Taiwan specifically on energy independence.
Ah, tying directly back to that energy policy debate we talked about.
Exactly. Directly connected.
Yeah.
And of course, the increased naval deployments in the region continue. But it's not just about military presence.
Okay.
They've also imposed sanctions on Iranian oil exports to China.
Wow. Okay. Sanctions on Iranian oil to China, that's a big geopolitical move, with implications far beyond the Pacific, surely.
Absolutely. It demonstrates a much broader strategic effort, trying to influence Beijing's actions, perhaps by hitting at its economic and energy interests. It's a much wider global chess game being played.
What about the global bodies, the UN, the EU? Are they doing more than just those calls for dialogue we discussed earlier?
Well, the UN has specifically called for restraint to prevent escalation in both the Taiwan Strait and the South China Sea, so acknowledging both flashpoints.
Okay.
Similarly, the European Union issued statements urging peaceful resolution, respect for international law, right across the Pacific region.
And ASEAN as a regional bloc.
ASEAN's expressed significant concern, particularly over freedom of navigation and the risk of conflict in the South China Sea. They're right there, after all.
Yeah.
Reiterating calls for peaceful dispute resolution.
Makes sense.
And even NGOs, international observers, they've been active too. Monitoring social media, highlighting that anxiety and polarization we talked about.
Calling for de-escalation.
Consistently. Calling for de-escalation and diplomacy from all sides. They sort of emphasize the human element caught up in these tensions.
Okay. We've mapped out the individual moves, the counter moves.
Yeah.
Naval deployments, energy policy, sanctions, social media trends.
Mm,
Quite a complex picture.
it is.
But let's zoom out now. How do all these disparate threads weave together into the larger strategic fabric?
Yeah.
What are the sort of overarching strategic implications here?
Right. This is where we try to connect the dots. And the strategic implications become, well, pretty clear.
Such as?
These coordinated actions by the U.S. and its allies, the military presence, the diplomacy, they primarily serve as a deterrent, right?
Yeah.
To discourage further Chinese aggression.
There's always a but.
But, and this is crucial, they also risk provoking a stronger response from Beijing. It creates this very delicate balance. Every move has to be carefully weighed against potential escalation.
So it's deterrence versus provocation.
In a nutshell. And the consistent emphasis you see on freedom of navigation, on supporting Taiwan's democratic processes, that signals a clear commitment.
To what? To upholding the regional status quo, pushing back against any attempts to unilaterally change it.
But it sounds like China isn't entirely swayed by all this international pressure. Their continued assertiveness suggests there are limits to how much influence these actions really have.
Precisely. China's continued boldness, let's say, and its rejection of what it calls external interference.
Yeah.
It does highlight the limits of international influence on Beijing's strategic thinking.
Which raises a tough question, doesn't it?
It does. How much leverage do international actors truly have when faced with a determined major power acting in what it sees as its core interests?
And the risk of things going wrong.
The risk of miscalculation remains high, especially in these intensely contested areas like the Taiwan Strait, the South China Sea. An unintended incident could spiral very quickly.
So what does that mean for the other players in the region?
Well, regional actors, they're compelled to perform this constant balancing act. They're trying to deter aggression, but they also need to keep channels open for dialogue.
To avoid escalation. Exactly. Avoid escalation while still safeguarding their own national interests. And if we connect this back to the bigger picture,
Yes.
this intricate interplay we've discussed, energy policy, global tech supply chains, security dynamics, it significantly complicates the entire strategic environment.
Making it harder to manage.
Much harder, with potential global repercussions if these tensions escalate beyond control.
It really is a lot of moving parts, isn't it? Each
Wow.
actor trying to find their leverage point, manage risk. Looking ahead then, what's the overall assessment of regional security right now? And what's the most likely path forward from here? Is this situation going to calm down, or are we looking at continued volatility?
Unfortunately, I think regional security remains undeniably fragile. There's a high potential for rapid escalation.
From what? Miscalculation?
Miscalculation or maybe a direct provocation, something could spark it off. And the presence of U.S. and allied naval forces, it provides reassurance to partners. But it also inherently increases the risk of unintended incidents. Close quarters, heightened tensions. You have to acknowledge that risk.
And China's actions?
China's assertive actions, its rhetoric. It continues to challenge the existing security architecture in East Asia. That's clear.
Which forces others to react.
Right. It prompts neighboring states to strengthen their own defense cooperation to actively seek greater international support.
And the flashpoints remain the same.
The South China Sea and the Taiwan Strait. They aren't just areas of dispute. They are critical flashpoints. Could trigger something broader. It just underscores the urgent need for robust crisis management, for sustained diplomatic engagement.
Which are being tested right now.
Severely tested.
So no easy answers then. What's the most likely outlook? How does this play out in the near term, do you think?
Well, the most likely course of action, as we see it, is probably continued strategic competition between China and the U.S.
Not resolution, but ongoing competition.
Yes. Marked by periodic escalations in rhetoric, military posturing, back and forth, rather than a clear breakthrough or resolution anytime soon.
And the regional actors.
They'll likely try to skillfully navigate this, avoid direct confrontation if possible, while simultaneously enhancing their own security capabilities and their diplomatic ties. Hedging, in a way.
And international organizations, UN, EU, ASEAN.
They'll maintain their calls for restraint, for dialogue, but their ability to influence concrete outcomes will, unfortunately, probably be limited.
Why?
Because of the entrenched positions of the main players involved, China and the U.S. primarily.
So the risk of incidents remains.
The risk of localized incidents, yes, it remains elevated, particularly in the maritime domain, the seas. But a deliberate move towards large-scale conflict, that's still assessed as unlikely, at least in the near term.
Okay.
But this raises an important point. The situation will stay highly dynamic. Things could change fast.
Depending on what?
Depending on developments in Taiwan's domestic politics, shifts in regional energy policy, disruptions in global supply chains. These are key variables.
They're not just background noise.
Not at all. They are active drivers of potential change and risk in this evolving security landscape.
Wow. This has been an incredibly insightful deep dive. It really highlights just how complex, how dynamic the China-Taiwan situation truly is.
It really is.
And it's clear this isn't some static event you read about once. It's an ongoing strategic watch list. Requires constant, informed attention from all of us, really.
Absolutely. And maybe as a final thought for you, as you consider everything we've discussed, think about this.
Okay.
Given those intricate links we talked about, Taiwan's energy policy, global tech supply chains, the wider security dynamics, How might seemingly domestic decisions, or maybe market shifts, things far from the daily headlines,
Yeah.
how might those inadvertently become the critical pressure points, the things that either help de-escalate or dangerously intensify future tensions?
That's a powerful thought, how the small gears can turn the big wheels, potentially.
Exactly. It's a reminder of how interconnected these issues truly are and their potential for ripple effects right across the globe.